Who's still buying cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, PCAR Market, Haggerty Market? We don't know. We've got special guest Nicole Johnson in studio today to help us figure out the answer to that question, and she brought cookies. This girl's A-OK in my book, my man. We've got new predictions. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube car game show, where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Haggerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. Oh, okay. So. You're good.
I have never been more jealous of not being in the studio, and you have cookies. I mean, come on.
I tell you what,
that's ridiculous.
You're real good. All right.
Didn't you ever listen to your mother? Don't podcast with your mouth full. Come on, even I know that, John.
Yeah, well, you know, when someone brings cookies, I mean, come on. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is Bid Nerds, your daily nerd on the most interesting cars of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites, including Bring a Trailer, PCAR Market, Cars and Bids, Haggerty, and more. My name is John Polnik. I am coming to you live from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas, along with my partner, Michael Deeb, in San Francisco. How are you, Michael Deeb?
I am very jealous. I'm overheating here. I know it's probably feels like you're a mile from the sun in Las Vegas, but it's really warm here in Nevada. It's
yeah. You know, here's the thing. Nobody cares because we have Nicole Johnson in studio. What's happening, Nicole? How are you?
What's up, guys? I'm excited to be here. It's burning hot in here, and
yeah.
We got the AC cranked. It is the hottest day of the year so far in Las Vegas, and so the AC is just barely hanging on. But Nicole, thank you for bearing with us in that. Nicole, your channel has become this huge thing, Nicole Johnson Detours, or Detour. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that real quick, and how do we find it?
Well, it's on YouTube, Nicole Johnson's Detour, and it's sort of like it's a detour from everything else I've ever done. So I used to drive monster trucks, and I raced King of the Hammers and rock crawling and all this off-road stuff, right? And this is just literally my detour into everything else. So I'm super new into the whole Porsche world. I have picked up a couple of Porsches myself in the last couple of years, and I'm just now exploring all these other things. Like, I just didn't know when I was younger, I was so focused on off-road that I had no idea, wait, what? I didn't know what a 356 was. I didn't know what a resto mod meant. I had no idea. So I'm just on all genres. I love it. I'm just exploring all these new things.
Well, I was watching your show yesterday and enjoyed watching you interview everyone. And I could tell the voices, they can't even keep up with you. You're like asking them questions like, I don't know what that means. You're way above their level is just like, well, I like it because it goes fast, and you're like, yeah, no, it was great. Great job. Definitely check out her channel. Some great films there. Nicole Johnson Detour, and we'll definitely talk about that again later in the show. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our good friends at Godden Porsche and Godden Classic of Las Vegas. That's how we met the lovely and talented Nicole. Our friends over there said, hey, you gotta meet this woman. She is awesome. So here she is. And if you guys are looking for a classic Porsche or parts for your classic Porsche, and I know Nicole gets her parts from Godden Classic, right?
I do. The parts department, everybody there knows who I am. When I come in, we chat.
They don't know who we are, and we work there.
It's true. Literally, people call Godden Classic all the time. They're like, I heard about you guys from Bid Nerds. And they're like,
what's a bid nerd?
Yeah.
No.
You sponsor their show. Your name is in the see, I can't even figure out where the corner is over there, but it's above Michael Deeb's head. No, that's awesome. So yeah, definitely you guys check out Godden Classic if you're looking for a Porsche or classic parts for one. And then also if you're going, hey, look, I think this show's on time. today
Were
for
we?
a change. Well, I'm pretty
Oh,
close.
weird.
I mean,
Yeah,
within
that
a
was
few
really
minutes,
close.
and that's on time to me.
Yeah.
I know our friends at Our Smiths wouldn't necessarily agree with that because those guys, they have fine Swiss repair for your fine Swiss watch. And so my fine Swiss watch is in tip-top shape because of Our Smiths. And if you're looking for a fine Swiss watch, they always have a fantastic selection. So give them a shout at oursmiths.com and let them know that Bid Nerds sent you. I'm guessing that if you actually call Our Smiths on the phone and say Bid Nerds sent you, unlike our friends at Garden Classic, they'll know who we are. No, I'm kidding about the Garden Classic thing. We had a great meeting about there, and now everybody knows who we are, and so it's all good. But we cleared that up. But anyways, oursmiths.com. All right.
JP, we have
buddy.
a quick PSA.
Oh, okay. What do we got?
I heard from Randy Bloom, our in-house statistician, who is up there in Idaho and part of the Spud Syndicate of the Nerd Herd. Randy informed me that he and Anthony Vieira and Chris Carbine from Carbine Motorsports in New Orleans, the three of them are going to be working simultaneously to the live show with a live Google Docs to try and officially record all of the Nerd Herd's bids. So I have been granted permission by Mr. Randy Bloom to let the herd know that make sure you get your bids in early, and they're going to try and keep a Google Doc that they can share with people in some capacity. I don't know more than that, but I just asked, I said, can I go with that on air? And Randy's like, yeah, I don't care what the hell you do. Go ahead.
That's fantastic.
But those guys are working behind the scenes. So if you call Our Smiths right now, the phone may just be ringing because Anthony Vieira is on his computer and his phone at the same time while watching Bid Nerds. Watches have come second.
That is fantastic. Nicole, that's the great thing about having a live show. You have a great channel. And you get lots of engagement, but it's fun. We have the Nerd Herd. These guys and gals get together all over the world. They're hanging out with us. So shout out to the Nerd Herd. Nicole, can you say hello to the Nerd Herd for us?
Hello, Nerd Herd.
Oh, man.
I feel like I am one of you.
Half of them just are all a pitter-patter now. Yeah. All right, let's get this show on the road. All I want to do is eat these cookies. I don't. Can we skip it? I got to do it.
I brought a 2XL if you need it. I have shirts hiding in my backpack.
Hey, speaking of swag, you've got a bunch of stickers right there in front of you. That's all for you.
I got
because she just got a Porsche. She got a classic. She got what year's your 911?
I have a 78. I have a 78 911 SC in petrol blue metallic.
Nice.
I love that color. Oh my gosh. Look at this. Do you see it?
Dirt. Yeah, no, you got Bid Nerd sticker.
Because you've already started your sticker thing on the back window, and so we've got a whole bunch.
There
of
you go. That's what you need.
That's the one right there.
Put that one. That's the one you need. Yeah.
Look, it matches over my face perfect. This is what you need the whole show. And I have a 08 Boxster. Just the base model, and we've caged it, and it's a dedicated track car. And I've got Bill Steins on both Porsches. And
she's dropping suspension vernacular. She is.
So I'm telling you, you watch her channel. She's asking the guys questions. They're like, coilovers. What?
I got coilovers on my Boxster, dude.
Yeah. She's like, I don't know if you can tell by
drop links. What is she talking about? I dropped the links in the comments below.
JP, I don't know if you can tell by looking at Nicole, but both of her Porsches are on Bill Steins.
Yeah, both of my Porsches are on Bill Steins.
Yeah, wow. That was a flex. That was a good flex.
Nice work. All right, guys, this is a show. If you are new to the show because you're joining us because you heard Nicole's going to be here, thank you for being part of the Nerd Herd and the Nerd Nation. What we do here is we pick some interesting cars. We dig through all the automotive auction sites like Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, and PCAR Market. And we find the cars that we think are the most interesting. They're not always the most expensive, the most rare, but for one reason or the other, we think that those particular listings will make the best topic for us to talk about. We analyze those listings, and then we make predictions of what we think will happen as an end result of their listings. And in that process, we make predictions. And what we always do, here's the thing about the Bid Nerds. We don't know what we're talking about, so don't take our advice. But we always start the show by putting our money where our mouth is. We reconcile the predictions that we made on the last episode, so we prove whether or not we know what we're doing. So let's go ahead and do this, Michael D. What was the first car on the list from the last episode?
All right, JP. Last show, we selected a 1991 Lamborghini Diablo Coupe. Our car was on Cars and Bids, showing just 17,600 miles, but it was located in Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's see. So our car was white. It was a V12 with the rear wheel drive and a 5-speed. Is that a 5-speed? Yeah, just a manual 5-speed, but not an all-wheel drive. Just a gorgeous Diablo. We have seen Countach's really start to escalate in value well beyond what we think they should be worth because they're so terrible to drive. But the Diablo is really like the Countach Part 2 and is a much better driving car. However, the values on these are sort of quote unquote still in the ballpark. And this car looks spectacular. These photos, JP, were pretty darn good shot there. It looks like, to me, it's obviously out there at Red Rock in the golden hour. So some really good shots, a really exotic car. And we wanted to see if Doug DeMuro's site could do well with this sort of no-nonsense Lamborghini Diablo, a U.S. car. So JP, I started the bidding at $275,000. I think you liked my bid because you parked it right underneath me at just $265,000. As we mentioned earlier, we had Zach Miller on the show. Zach previously worked with Cars and Bids, so this was kind of fun for him to look at a listing from his old employ. But he knocked it. He wasn't as enthused and was a bit more bearish on the car. So he said $235,000 is what the hammer would fall to. Nicole, we're going to totally throw you in the fire and put you on the spot. We've got a reasonable mile Lamborghini Diablo manual. Obviously, I think they only came manual, but this is a rear-wheel drive car with some good photography. It looks spectacular in white with the OZ wheels. What do you think would happen here on sort of, as we would refer to it as sort of the lesser platform? It's not on Bring a Trailer, which is where the big ones, the big boys play. This car is just on Cars and Bids, but good, very good presentation as it's brought to market. Do you like this car, and what do you think the number would have been when it hammered a couple days ago?
I'm probably the worst person to ask because I think it's really ugly.
That's okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. Hey.
I would never want to own that car if I'm totally honest. So I don't understand why people would want it. However, I'd rather have an older classic one like this than a new one. I don't really know what they're worth. I mean, does it really fetch more than $250,000? I don't know.
$250 is a good bid. I think that's a fair place to start. And again, you just sort of look at our bids for context, and you would certainly be in the hunt. JP, we've got some good bids in the herd. Thank you, Randy, for posting those really quick. Just so you know, Buddha guessed $250, Nicole, so you weren't alone at that number. Paul B was at $276.5, and Tom was at $272, and those are relevant because our car hammered for $275,000 where it sold on 49 bids. Now, if 275 sounds just a little bit familiar to you, JP, that's because that's what I guessed. I got a goddamn Yahtzee on this one. I haven't had a Yahtzee since Nicole was racing monster trucks, so I feel very, very good about getting a Yahtzee organically. JP, what do you think of that result? That's got to be all the money, right? This car's not worth much more than that, is it, with the miles?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good indication of where things are going. I think some people might look at this and say, oh my gosh, that's just a crash in value. But this car is just not, for one of these, it's not the special one. It's actually, if I were to want to buy a Diablo, this would be the one I would want. I would want one with a little bit of miles. I would want one with the 5-speed. I would want the most basic 2-wheel drive version, unlike the later versions with all-wheel drive and viscous transmission, all that crazy stuff that tends to break. We did talk about one of these, and I think it was on Cars and Bids too, that yellow one, that really
Roadster. Yeah,
it was just a total roached out car. And I meant to bring up the comments when we posted that video, and you guys can go look for that video on our channel. There were some really good comments in there from people that really knew their Diablos, and it kind of surprised me. I should have done more homework, but everyone there and a lot of the comments there were kind of repeating and echoing the thing that we say all the time, which is, old cars need to be driven. When you let them sit around, they break, and they break big, and they break expensively. But if you drive the heck out of them and you don't stop, they tend to keep going. So I don't know, Nicole, you have driven a lot of off-road vehicles. You obviously have a classic Porsche now. What's your take on keeping an old car going? Is it better to put that thing hermetically sealed in the garage, or
no,
you need to get it out there on the road or in the dirt?
We know that everything's going to dry out, right? All of the seals, if you're not keeping a car going. And I think it's important. I think they want to be driven. I'm not necessarily impressed with a car that's that old with that few miles, because either the owner didn't love it enough. Maybe he wasn't a true car guy to drive it, or it drove so crappy he just parked it and forgot about it. I personally want to drive a car, and I want to see an older car being driven. I'm not really in the collector mindset. I'm probably crushing everybody right now because I'm calling it how I see it.
On the contrary, this is a channel full of drivers. There's no spectators in the nerd herd, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. And again, you're welcome. Welcome to the new members of the Nerd Herd. There's a bunch of people commenting that they'd never heard of us until they heard that Nicole was going to be here. So thanks and welcome. But that's really the big thing about what the cars that we pick. They're not necessarily the cars. A lot of times the cars that we straight up don't like, but they do make for interesting conversation. And I do like this car, but I think it's probably because I'm an old guy, and this is the kind of car that when I was in my teens and 20s, this was the contemporary car du jour. This was the exotic car that was all over the movies and posters and everything. So this car really does kind of speak to me to an era of cars that I really like. And I think I know that's what drives the values of a lot of these darn things. The Diablos and the Countages, all that stuff from the late 80s and early 90s are realizing such high values, even despite the correction that we're seeing in the market, because the people who have disposable income, we started out the show by asking who's still buying, right? Mm-hmm. Who's still buying these cars? And the answer is old guys like me who still have disposable income. Either their houses are paid for, their kids are out of college, so they're done making those payments on that, so they can finally go back and afford to get the thing that they wanted back when they were in their 20s and couldn't afford it. Nicole, what's been your experience in the classic car? What made you want a 911, an air-cooled 911?
Okay, I'll be honest. I shot an episode with Magnus Walker.
Oh, that's a cheater, dirty cheater.
That is really hard to leave that conversation and not feel totally pumped up and hyper, like I need a Porsche right now. Magnus is a force. So I think when you're around him, you just get really pumped up about it. I had another episode with my buddy Scott Birdsall, and he doesn't want you to call it a Safari 911, but it was an off-road style 911, and that was cool. Those were my first two and only two air-cooled Porsches I'd ever driven. Were on the show, and
wait.
Right?
Your first 911 air-cooled 911 experience was an off-road one?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I saw that episode too. It was great.
It was very cool. 87, I believe it was, with the 3.2. Anyway. Maybe 8 or 3. No, he had a 3.6 in it. He'll probably correct me if he sees this. And then the very first 911 I ever drove on the street was Magnus's 277. So, and it just sounds good, And I literally got back home and I just, like you guys, looking at all the auction sites and looking and obsessing every single day. I didn't know I was in the market for one, and I just kept looking, and I actually found it locally on Craigslist. So,
hey Nicole, did you bring Magnus cookies?
I mailed him cookies, yes, and I was on the smoking tire, and I brought them to Matt Farah and Zach Clapman. I brought them cookies. You can ask Matt Farah and Zach Clapman how good my cookies are.
So we got fresh cookies. Everybody else got.
I mailed them to Magnus, and then
cookies.
UPS dropped the ball and didn't deliver it for like 3 days. I was so ticked. I was like, I'm so sorry. They're supposed to be fresh. He sent me a picture of a half-eaten cookie. Now, either he had his dog eat half of it, and then he showed me the cookie to pretend he had eaten it, but it still made me feel good that it looked like he took a bite. So
that's awesome. Funny.
Well, congratulations to my partner Michael Deeb for getting a Yahtzee on that car and his prediction. So good job, Michael Deeb. What do you guys think of the? Go ahead.
Carbine says Deeb got it finally. Thank you, Chris Carbine, for noticing that I haven't had a Yahtzee in forever. But yeah.
Okay, that's enough. We all know you got a Yahtzee.
It's been a minute.
How many more of these comments? Look, he says you got. No, we all love it. Good job. All right. What do you guys think of the results of this Diablo? Do you think that was well bought? Do you think there's a crash in the market? Who do you think is still buying these cars? Let us know in the comments below, and let's move on to the next car that was on the list. What do we got?
All right, JP. We selected a 1969 Alfa Romeo. This is a 1750 Spider Veloce. This is sort of the last iteration of what was affectionately referred to as a Duetto, the first series of the new Alfa Spider built on the, I want to say the 105 chassis, but I might be getting that wrong. This car was selected for us by Yuri. So thank you, Yuri, for selecting this car. Really beautiful presentation here. Wob does a really good job shooting these cars in their sort of blacked out studio, and the cars always look so damn sexy. And this car is sexy to begin with. Pininfarina design, that sort of boat tail Duetto spider. The Chromadora wheels really make this car. The beautiful magnesium rims that are on there. And then we kind of went at length about the 69 having the bigger motor and the fuel injection, making it a fantastic car, similar to my father's old car that JP has driven on a couple of occasions, and we've had some fun in those cars. John affectionately told a story about us going up to Napa and then all the way down to Santa Cruz to be on the DWA podcast. JP drove the bright orange Duetto, and I was driving a yellow 914. So all day driving all over Northern California, we looked like ketchup and mustard on the freeway. It was kind of funny. So yeah, the condiments, the Bid Nerd condiments. So JP, I like this car. I thought it would do well. I said $43,500 where I thought this car would hammer. Wondering again if the soft market would be soft on this car. And you took the over very smartly at $47,000. Zach Miller from Cars and Bids, previously of Cars and Bids, joined us as our third nerd on the last show. He guessed $43,000. Nicole, I'm going to put you on a spot. Beautiful Alfa Romeo. It's the last year of the first series, and they did some very notable upgrades. Bigger motor and fuel injection, 5-speed. This was the car that Dustin Hoffman drove in The Graduate. You may remember those cars. Later cars that came after this, the ones in the 70s, the 80s, don't really hold their value. But these very early cars are very collectible. They're the prettiest of the bunch, and they're really fun to drive. What do you think happened here on Bring a Trailer when this car hammered the other day?
Well, first of all, it is a gorgeous car, and the photography, oh my gosh, I wish all of the listings were this good looking, right?
We do too.
It's hard to believe that it wouldn't go for, to me, in the 50s. But if you guys are all guessing in the 40s, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe
Wait. Nicole, follow your heart. Follow your heart.
I'm gonna just go even. I like the 50s, right? I had said 250. Yep. Now I'm gonna say 50.
All right,
I like
there
that
you go.
car.
Very good. So 50,000 is a very good bet. Our car hammered for $60,000 where it sold on 30 bids. JP, you won this one because you were the closest. Nicole's intuition was spot on. I know I sort of, when I go first, I wind up setting the tone. There's just not a lot of comps for Duettos. And when they made the Duetto for 4 or 5 years, most of them are 1600cc motors. And while those early cars are collectible, they're not as great a driving car as these later ones are. So trying to find comps for just a 69 is a hard thing to do. We talk about how the market is softening, and these sort of mid-level collectibles are the ones that are going to suffer the most. But what we always say, you know, bringing the car to market correctly is a big, big selling point, and the best of the best will hold their value even in a down market. This car, JP, with the condition and the photography and the paint job and just the right accessories with the magnesium wheels and all that sort of thing, it really just set a new high watermark for Duettos. Are you surprised by that? You took the over on me, so obviously you had an inkling that this car was going to do better than my bearish bid. Are you surprised it went so far over your bid?
I am. I mean, we asked the question at the top of the show, who's still buying? And I'm wondering who the buyer of this car is, because like I said about the Diablo, that Lamborghini, you know, it's the guys that are in the guys that were looking for cars when they were in their 20s were looking at contemporary cars. They weren't looking at this. Like, you know, when I was in my 20s, this car was already an old car. And it was kind of like the older version. They actually were worth, you know, it's like, so what I think is interesting about this car and what we are seeing in the market right now is that blue chip stuff, the nicest version of something will still bring solid money. And this is basically the nicest version of one of these that we've seen in a long time, and presented well. Like Nicole said, that always adds a lot to the listing and always winds up adding more money for the seller. So yeah, congratulations to the seller for getting that much money. That is a lot for one of these. And the only thing that I'm kind of bummed about is that I still kind of want one of these, and one of my ideas here fairly recently was to get rid of one of my 911s and replace it with one of these. And because, you know, the driving experience may not be the same, but it's still that old classic car, and I kind of want to mix things up a little bit. And this was definitely, one of these was on the list, and now it's like, well, at 60 grand, I mean, that's about the same amount of money as an old 911 in a lot of ways. So yeah, Nicole, what do you think of the results?
I'm not surprised. I think it's a really good condition, actually. I was shocked when your guys' predictions were in the 40s. It doesn't surprise me at all that it fetched what it did. I think it's gorgeous. It's a good looking car. And I think you'd be silly to trade your air-cooled for something like that because the parts availability is great on Porsches. And I don't know what it is, you know.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, parts availability for Porsches is quite good these days because a lot of Porsche is making them, Porsche Classic TM, but they're damned expensive. And that's one thing about these old Alfas. Oddly enough, the powertrain on this is kind of a standard powertrain across a lot of different cars. The powertrain parts are actually fairly easy to find, right? And not crazy expensive.
You got to realize they made this car from 1966 to like 1995. So there are parts and the motors and a lot of the pieces are interchangeable through several of the different generations of the car. So the good thing about these cars is you don't have to fabricate something to keep it on the road. There are parts aplenty for them, and the parts are much less expensive than a Porsche. But your intuition is correct. A lot of other cars like this, an old Triumph or an MG or even a Fiat, you might struggle to find some odd parts. But the Alfas themselves, there's plenty of stuff out there. Finding a good mechanic, though, can be a challenge. You want to find somebody that's competent, reliable, and honest, and then conveniently located and affordable. And finding somebody that fits all of those things, that's few and far between. So it's not as easy as owning a Porsche. It's less expensive, but the challenges are definitely there. But yeah, great result, JP. I think that's got to be a high watermark over the last few years for a Duetto, and rightly so. Nice car.
Deeb, you just listed every single quality of my husband. That's why he's my mechanic. He just he's affordable. He's conveniently located.
Yes,
he's reliable.
Yep.
Can he work on Italian cars?
Yeah, exactly.
No, but the 911 is just like the bug he had in high school with 2 more cylinders. So he loves it.
That's exactly
basically
right.
The same thing. You just put a 0 on the end of the price of anything for it. That's all. Love it. All right, what do you guys think of the results of this little Alfa Duetto? Does that high watermark surprise you? Who do you think the person that bought this and the kind of describe to us in the comments? We'd really like to hear from you guys. Who is the buyer for this car? What does that person look like? Let us know in the comments below, and we are going to move on to the next car on the list. What do we got?
JP, I personally hijacked the show so I could do my own deep dive on this particular 1987 Mercedes Benz 190E 2.3 16. This particular car is located out of Artesia, California, and it was on PCAR Market. I have owned 3 of these cars before, JP, and never enough. I'm always looking for the next one. This one looked really, really nice because it was showing just 49,000 original miles. Finding one of these with low miles that's not beat to hell or modified in a lot of ways is increasingly more difficult. We only see a nice 1 or 2 of these come to market each calendar year across the entire United States. There's certainly way more of these cars in Europe, and they made them for a lot longer than when they sold them here. I think the car ran from like 85 to 92 or 4 or something. But here we only got them in 86 and 87, and in their sort of weakest and smallest powertrain, the 2.3 with just 160 horsepower. Famously, a DTM car with a dogleg 5-speed manual transmission. Our car with low miles, and that manual gearbox was really attractive to me, and so I was really just watching as a fanboy as much as anything else. I thought, JP, this car had a chance to get to $48,000 and potentially sell. You were much more bearish on the car because of the platform and not because of the car itself, so you gave us a bid of just $32,000. Zach Miller joined us, formerly of Cars and Bids. He was our third nerd. I think he liked the car. I think he said he really enjoyed looking at this car with us. He sort of split the difference between us. He was at $40,000. Nicole, there's not a lot of comps for these. Most of the cars that we see of these that come to market have like 160, 180,000 miles. They're beat to snot, and they usually sell for 25 grand. But this car looked to be exceptionally stock and clean and has super low miles, being well under 50,000 miles. So we thought this car had a chance to basically almost double the average selling price of those in this country. What do you think happened here on PCAR Market, which is kind of they're the more iffy of the platforms.
Yeah, before I realized that JP's bid was 32, in my head it was 32. That doesn't mean I'm right. I just want to agree with him, because as soon as you said 32, I said, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's not a very popular platform, and it's, I don't know, you really have to be looking for it.
Yeah, we cover it because when we started doing this, like during the whole shelter in place thing, PCAR Market was already a player in the space, and by the PCAR Market name, they were very Porsche heavy. But since then, their brand is diluted, and they sell a lot of garage art as much as anything with cars. And then time and time again, they seem to screw up a lot of listings, and JP enjoys almost as much as I do, watching them sort of fall on their face, and they burn their clients a lot of times. That wasn't the case here. 32 is a good bid. Our car did struggle, as JP perceived that it would on this platform. Basically, John, our car hammered for $33,000 on, let me read it to you, because I have to go trace, they expunge the results and you have to go count the bids, right? So our car hammered at 33,000, where it failed to sell on 37 bids. So the car got really good action, but the bidding stopped at 33. They got one offer after the time expired at 33,500, and just the one offer that was not accepted. The car has appeared in the deal tank. So when a car fails to sell on PCAR Market, they offer it in their classifieds. JP affectionately refers to the deal tank as the chum bucket out there in Oyster Bay. And it is in the chum bucket right now, JP, for $55,000. And I said to you, I felt like this car was a $50,000 example, but it might struggle on this platform because it's not a Porsche. And, these cars are, as they get older and older, I think that there's fewer and fewer young people that know and could possibly appreciate what it is. I mean, it looks like Grandpa's sedan, but this is a fantastic homologation special. I don't think 55 is terribly out of the question. It might be interesting to see if somebody comes along and offers them 40 or 45 or 48, which was my bid, and win the car. That'd be a tremendous value. But even at 55, it's about as nice a one as we've seen in the marketplace. I don't think it's not outrageous, which is typically what we see when cars wind up in the deal tank. We see asking prices that make you scratch your head and go, what the hell? But 55, I don't think is like completely out of bounds. So John, what do you think of all that? Because there's so much to the result, the way PCAR moves the numbers around after the hammer,
Well, I mean, when we saw that incredible bull market for classic cars here over the last few years, we're definitely seeing an end of that. But at its height, PCAR Market, we've seen PCAR Market actually get it done when it comes to Porsches. Fine Porsches, good Porsches. If you have a clean, well-represented Porsche, it'll do okay on PCAR Market. It might even do great on PCAR Market, because PCAR Market, despite everything we say about them, has done a good job at letting the Porsche buyers market know that they exist, and that is a place that you can go find Porsches. But now that this bull market has turned into a bear market, PCAR Market can't seem to sell anything that's not a Porsche. We're just, everything that's not Porsche just winds up in the chum bucket. And, we asked at the top of the show, who's still buying? Well, on PCAR Market, nobody is the answer, unless it's actually a really clean, nice Porsche. And if it's not a clean, nice Porsche, if it's a slightly iffy Porsche, doesn't seem like they're able to move those either. And time again, cars like this that are very good cars, this car would have done very well on BaT. I think it could have been presented better. The photos aren't fantastic, but they're good enough for this car to have done far better than what we predicted on this show. And again, like I said on the last episode, my bid was not that low because I thought the car was bad, or that even that's what the car is worth. I just figured PCAR Market couldn't get the job done. This car is definitely worth $10,000 more than what it got to. I don't know if it's worth $55,000, but with all that said, Nicole, what do you think of the results?
I think you said it exactly. I think that PCAR Market either needs to rebrand itself to be more their name needs to be more inclusive of other cars if they want to try and fetch higher dollars, or, I think you're right. It should have been on Bring a Trailer, because it's a global audience of guys who check their daily emails to see what's going on there, and they're looking every day to buy cars up. I just think it was on the wrong website.
Wrong platform for sure, right?
Good take.
What do you think? Do you think it would have done better, Nicole, if it were on Cars and Bids? Because Doug DeMuro is known as being kind of a weird guy. This car's a little weird.
I mean, probably. I think both of those platforms, it probably would have done better than on PCAR Market. But you said it. You both said it. I mean, you have to be really looking for that car because it does look like something that Grandpa drove, and I don't know the Mercedes, enthusiast market for something like this. I know that my dad had one similar when I was younger, and I thought it was really cool. But I just think that I'm with you. It could probably get 10,000 more, but it needs to be on a different auction site.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't help it too that the regular 190. A 190E without the little wing and the teeny little ground effects. I mean, those things can be had on Craigslist for $7-8 grand all day long. Right. And this car does not look like a car that's 5, 6, 10x the value, even though it absolutely is. I think I think everybody's on the same wavelength here. This is a very specialized car. It's not necessarily just a special car, but it's a specialized buyer, and that's who's still buying these, and that person is not on PCAR Market. So PCAR Market fail there. We did one other car. Oh, go ahead.
Let's do. There's some great comments coming in. First of all, Anthony agrees with you that it's not a $50,000 car. And then we've got.
Well, you were supposed to buy it, Deeb, and then Anthony was going to buy it from you, if I recall.
Yeah, well, if I paid $50, Anthony would have taken my head off. So I'm glad I didn't buy it. I would have taken it at $33 for sure. We've got Brian Ledden in the comments. He said the chum bucket ask was my bids. Do I win? That's a great take, but no, that's not how it works. We do not reward the chum bucket.
Who said that?
Brian Ledden.
Oh, Brian, but maybe we'll give him a PCAR Market suck shirt.
Yeah. And then Garage Kept is in the comments, and he says, young folks are tapped into the 190E. Jason Camissa yells from the mountains about his. I think it will maintain its status. I agree with you. I think the real enthusiasts that like to drive this sort of new generation of guys that are driving E30s will always look across the aisle and see who their competition is. And while there's very few 190Es on the road to go to a driving event, or you don't see them very often on the back roads, I think the nice ones will always get respect. So great comment from Garage Kept. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and welcome, Garage Kept. I think Garage Kept is one of the people that came in because of Nicole, so thanks for hanging out. And we did have Camissa's partner on a couple episodes ago, Derek Ham Scott. So if you want to go watch, if you're a fan of Carmudgeon, get over there and watch one of our previous episodes and see what you think.
Check out on YouTube. Derek Tam Scott has BTS with DTS, right? Behind the scenes with Derek Tam Scott. It's his video series. And he reviews at great length, like a 20-minute video of a 190E 2.5 16-valve Evo 2, which is the holy grail of these cars, numbered to 499 or 500 of them, I think. That is a spectacularly exotic version of this car, the highest spec, the last one they made. And those cars are wild. And Derek drove one basically, JP, at like Alice's restaurant. They went up there in the mountains and did all this great photography, and you can hear that car being driven at pace, which is really cool. Those cars are unobtainium.
All right, what do you guys think of the results of this 190 car? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, while you're hitting there on the keyboard, if you're hanging out over there in the Nerd Herd, there's a lot more of you hanging out making comments in the Nerd Herd than we have thumbs up. So let's get some thumbs up out there. That'll attract some more people to come and join the Nerd Herd. Make it happen. Thanks, guys. Let's do it. And we've got one more car that we covered on the last episode, and then we'll have some all new predictions in just a minute. So what's the last car that we did in the last episode?
All right, JP, I threw in because it's so cool. 1992 BMW M5 Touring. This is a very, very rare car because they never brought them to the United States. However, this one has been federalized for the U.S. and is on a U.S. title. It's a clean New York title, and the car is located in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. Our car is showing just 98,000 miles and we're listed on Cars and Bids. Spectacular cars. Most of these cars came with a 3.6, especially the sedans that came to our country. But the last few years of the touring, the wagon version of the car, got the upgraded, more powerful 3.8 liter inline six that brought horsepower from 310 up to 335 by way of fantastic valve tuning and individual throttle bodies. This is a super exotic motor for something that is what we would consider in America to be a family wagon. And then the wagons also got the advanced and updated Nürburgring handling package. So, you've got better dampers and stabilizers and probably a higher spec tire. Our car had some miles on it, but you can't find another one like it in the US very often at all. Some of these cars are now trickling in on the 25-year exemption. Our car looked to be in really good condition out of New York, and so we thought it might do well. I started the bidding at $52,000. JP, you were much more bearish on the car and went 10 grand under me down to $42,000. Zach Miller, previously of Cars and Bids, again had fun. He really liked this car. The 4 cars we did with Zach, this was his favorite. But he was bearish on it as well. He did the bid at $44,000. So Nicole, in Europe, guys who drive wagons are cool. This was the alternative or the answer to the SUV equation. If you had to take your honey from the city to the coast, you could throw your golf clubs or your skis or your bicycles in the back and get away for the weekend. So a luxury sport wagon is actually considered cool if you're a junior vice president at some company in Madrid or London or whatever. So what do you think of the wagon in the U.S.? How would it do on Cars and Bids?
I think a wagon in the U.S. is also extremely cool. I do not think it's just exclusive to Europe. I had a Jetta wagon years ago and thought it was awesome. I think wagons are super sexy. I like this way better than that Mercedes, to be honest.
There you go.
That is hot. I think it would be fun to drive, and you could still throw like the kids in there and go to soccer and beat everyone. I like it a lot. I do think that it's going to be in the 50s, and my guess is actually going to be higher than you guys because I think somebody's going to snatch that up at 54.
54 is not a bad bid. You are in the hunt. JP, our car hammered at $49,000 where it's sold on 32 bids. I actually beat Zach Miller by a couple of grand to it because I was just closer. So 2 wins for me and 2 wins for you for the week. That's a good result for this car. I kind of suspect, I mean, in my opinion, I still feel like this car is worth more than just 50 grand. To me, it should be a $60,000 or $70,000 car because it's just like they're unobtainium in this country. And I don't think that it's not like at 90 something thousand miles that drivetrain's all worn out. These are good, strong, robust cars. This is kind of a little golden era. I mean, it's nothing to look at as far as like, it's not a spectacular design. It's pretty straightforward. But the technology in the motor and the shifter and the thing, these cars just drive wonderfully. I think at 49, it was well bought. I think this guy can enjoy it, drive it. Doesn't matter if he puts over 100,000 miles on it. I think in 2, 4, or 6 years from now, when this guy decides to sell it, he's going to sell it for an equitable stake. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 50% return on his investment and sells it down the road for $75,000. What do you think, John?
I mean, take a picture of it not at the garbage dump, and you'll get a little bit more money for it. I mean, it's just, come on, man. Just, dude, find someplace other than the municipal sanitation yard. And when you take your pictures, if you're going to try to get the top dollar for the car. And by the way, I don't care that I didn't get a Yahtzee. I don't care that I didn't win this one because I got cookies. Y'all didn't. Nicole, what do you think of the results of this?
It's a bummer that you're not here, Deeb, because I'm going to have to eat your share.
Yep, that's fine. I get it. I get it. Yep.
All right. While I finish this cookie, what do you guys think of the results of this amazing, beautiful blue wagon BMW at a garbage dump? Do you think that was the right number for it? Or if they just bothered to take some better pictures someplace nice, that it would have brought thousands of dollars more? Let us know in the comments below. And stick around, guys. This show, we are just getting started. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. We're going to take a very fast break, and we will be right back with predictions with Nicole Johnson right after this. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for, Godden Porsche of Las Vegas.
If you don't subscribe to Bid Nerds on YouTube right now, I'm gonna shoot this 997. If you said, wait, that's a 996, you're a nerd. So subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds.
Get those!
Hey guys, I gotta tell Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, we are back. Don't worry, Nicole's still here. She's just getting a cookie. Yeah, man, I'm excited. These cookies are great. As I try to finish that one off. All right, we've got cars that we are going to make some predictions on. The list today is, well, it's very brand heavy with one specific brand.
Right.
I apologize in advance, but I think all of the cars that we're talking about tonight are interesting. What's the first car on the list, Michael Deeb?
All right, JP. Our good buddy John Duckworth selected for us a 1977 Porsche 911S Coupe that has been backdated to look like a long hood, essentially. This is a super cool car that is on Bring a Trailer and brought to market by our good buddies up at Avant-Garde. You know them as 911R on Bring a Trailer out of Portland, Oregon. This particular coupe was purchased by the current owner in 2019, and then the car went basically through a 5-year restoration or resto mod to look like a backdate. So most of the work was performed by Scott Longbala and involved fitting the bodywork and repainting it in Oslo blue. And then the car was equipped with a twin plug short stroke 3.2 liter with Rothsport individual throttle bodies and Motec engine management system. That was all done by, let me see, it was just reading about it. Mark Jung at MFI Works in Bend, Oregon. JP, have you ever heard of him?
I have not. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So anyways, he's credited with the JE cylinders and 98 millimeter pistons. I'm guessing this car is making easily 300 horsepower to the tires. And by taking off all the G-body bumpers and stuff and putting on this long hood stuff, I'm guessing this car probably shed a couple 100 pounds in the process. GTS seats. The car does have heater boxes. It looks like it's beautiful, and there are receipts totaling $249,000 listed in the gallery of photos, so that you can see all of the parts and labor that went into building this beautiful car. So John, I'm just going to hand this to you, but as we come back, I want to look at there's another car that 911R brought to market that's a 77 that we'll take a peek at too, because it's really interesting that we have 3 77S's that we're going to just sort of take a quick peek at. But this one is the backdate by 911R, shot in the studio. Really nice car. John and Yuri loved it. What do you think, JP? The RSR wheels, the GTS seats, a Momo steering wheel. It's got some motor and it's got lightweight. What do you think, man?
Boy,
you like it?
It's a lot more than all of those things. I mean, look, when I first saw the listing on our list, I was kind of like, yeah, great, another backdate. Okay. And I love backdates. I have one and all that. It's just, but this particular one, you start looking at it closer, and you're like, oh, okay, this one is one of those. Because I also looked at where it is. We'll get to the numbers in a little bit. But you got to ask that question again, who's still buying cars like this? We have seen a lot of great, cool backdates recently kind of fail to get anywhere because they weren't perfect. They weren't immaculate. They were really just cars that were kind of thrown together. They're fun driver quality hot rods. But this one, when you start looking at the listing, you realize that this thing is buttoned down. Every last detail is taken care of. Right away, when I see a 77, the first thing I'm thinking on a backdate that, okay, it's going to look like a short wheelbase car because it's not going to have the flares because all of the 77 mid-year cars are usually narrow. And then this one obviously has the flares too. So it's just the RSR wheels, everything's great. But honestly, I don't really even care what it looks like at all, because Here's what everything comes down to is what this car flipping sounds like. Have a listen to this, you guys. This is nuts.
So a couple things I want to point out.
Jeez.
Yeah.
No, you already had your
built it-
chance to point
I
stuff out.
literally
It's
have
Nicole's
chicken
turn.
skin. I literally got chicken
Right?
skin.
Deeb,
I watched
shut the
that
hell
video.
up. It's Nicole's
Wow.
turn. What
Oh.
do you, I mean, when you hear that, is that
I'm
just
not lying. It's still tingling down my spine. And I'm not even making that up. I literally got chicken skin listening to that because it is like, God, I want my car to sound like that. I just don't want to spend. I don't want to spend $249,000 in build expenses to do it. So there is a dyno number on here, 246 horsepower, which is obviously an improvement over what it would have been, but it sounds like it has a lot more than that actually. But it's only 2,130 pounds. It's really lightweight aluminum hood. Were the fenders fiberglass, or am I incorrect on that? They did a lot of lightweight stuff on this. I think my personal opinion is if you're going to buy a car that's already sorted out like this, like somebody already spec'd it out and you're just buying it from them, it's too nice to drive, so you're just going to be parking it somewhere. But if you're just going to buy it for a whole bunch of money and park it somewhere, why not start with a platform that's the right year and not do a backdate? So I don't think it's going to fetch what they have into it.
We're not going to get you we don't need a number yet.
Good,
We'll get to that.
I am skeptical that it's gorgeous, it sounds good, but why buy somebody else's design of a backdate? I'd rather see an older model that all this work went into. That's my personal opinion. It's a gorgeous car though. Everything's been sorted on it.
All right, Deeb's got some details that he wants to let us know. Now, what do you got, Deeb?
Well, JP, I was just going to say the reason why the car sounds so good is because they built it to be a short stroke motor. The short stroke motors have the ability to rev. So, when we look at a 3.2 that basically runs out of steam at 6,500 RPM, this car, I'm guessing, is revving deep into the sevens, maybe up to 8,000 RPM, and that's why it sounds so good. Also, the early 3.2s were only about 207 horsepower at the crank. Those cars were only putting down probably 180 at the tires. So to get all the way up to 249 is a big improvement. So that's a fantastic improvement over the stock motor. And of course, with that exhaust system, JP, it does sound amazing. Our car is currently sitting at $135,000 on 19 bids, and it closes tomorrow. This car looks like it's going places, JP, but the big question is it going to break the $200,000 barrier? And I tend to think it's going to run out of steam right before it gets there. So I'm going to give you my bid of $197,000, where I think it will sell. If it gets to my number, I believe it sells at that number. It could cross 200, but my feeling is that it won't. I love RSR Fuchs style wheels, but this car is so cool. I'd rather see it on Group 4s, that kind of thing. It's just, there's little details that, I don't know. I just think it's going to just miss breaking 200. Where are you at, John? 197 to you.
That is a very difficult bid to bid against because, again, we keep going back to the top of the show. Who's still buying, right? Who still has 200 large for a crazy, mad, awesome outlaw like this? And I don't know. I want to be bearish on this car, but I mean, you just got to love the guy driving this thing. It makes me want to give him all the money. Look at how much of a maniac this person is, Deeb. Look at this. Look at this guy. Look at this right-hand corner.
Yeah.
It's just like going for it. Look at this corner. Flip. Yeah. Screw yield. I'm just... Apex. Boom. On the street, what a maniac. This guy would make Rami proud. I want to buy even if I couldn't see the car, just watching that video, I'm like, I don't care what the rest of it looks like. I want to experience that, but will it break $200,000? I'm going to say no. I think that things have corrected. I think that whatever money this guy has put into the car, if it's over 200, he's going to be taking a loss, unfortunately. This is an absolutely stunning car. And I don't know, Nicole, it'll be interesting to see what you had mentioned the idea that if you're going to spend all that money, spend on something that's original, and maybe it holds its value better because it's original. I think the counter to that would be how great this car drives, because if you want this kind of driving experience, I think you have to do something like this to a car. You either have to take the original one and put a bigger engine in it, or start with a later car that already has a bigger engine and tune that engine from there and backdate it. I don't know. It goes back and forth. To me, I don't really care what it's worth over the long term. If I could drive this car, that's all I really care about. Hold on. There's just one more corner that I'm just so excited about this. Look at this, guys. One more time. I never do this on the show, but look at this. Hold on. Look at the way he dives into this thing. Oh. On the street, bro. Okay, all right. Giving it to Nicole. What do you think?
Oh, Nicole, let me give you some bids from the herd for context, right? So, Nicole, I was at 197. JP, what was your bid? Because you said it wouldn't get to 200, but I don't know your number.
Yeah, I'm going to go 178.
178. Okay, so JP's under me by basically 20 grand. Nicole, in the herd, Scott says 179.5. Peter George says 190. Hey, Peter. Anthony Vieira is the high man at $265,000 all day, boys. I asked Anthony in the comments, please, Anthony, why do you think it's going to get to 265? Brian Ledden's at 205. Christian is at 180, I think 189,911. They're missing a digit there. Tom is at 175. I'm sorry, 177,500. Christian is at 189,911. They fixed it. Okay. Kevin at 250. Gerd at 235. Carbine at 192.5. Michael S at 215,000. Buddha is at 200, and Randy B is at 205. So half of the bids, Nicole, are over the $200,000 mark that JP and I suspect the car might not reach. Now, Nicole, with all the context given to you so that you can make an informed decision, what do you think is going to happen out of your crystal ball? What do you think is going to happen tomorrow when this car closes on Bring a Trailer?
Whatever the reserve is, I don't think it's going to be met. There is a reserve on this, correct?
Yep.
Okay, I don't think it's going to be met because you already know that the builder is into, or somebody is into it, at least $249,000 plus the actual car. Plus, they're going to want to make a profit. Plus. In their mind, if I'm the seller, I'm thinking that this thing's got to fetch at least that much, pushing 3 if I'm the seller. I think that they're all going to lose money and it's not going to sell. And I think it's going to tap out at 185.
185 is not a bad guess at all. JP, I've got an update for you, which is going to make you laugh because occasionally it happens. But while we were doing the show, I just gave you that the car was at $135,000.
It's at 140.
Before I gave you, but it just got a bid at 728 for $140,000 by Medical Rehab. So Medical Rehab is in at 140. That is where it sits right now. John, this will be an interesting one. Nicole doesn't think it'll hit reserve. That's not a bad take. That's good.
Well,
That's
I mean, it doesn't bode well for us bearish bidders because on BAT, one thing we see very often is the last day, sometimes seeing doubling of whatever it was before. But there's a lot of activity already. So I think some people are going to be looking at this car. I think, what's tough about this car, Deeb, and I'm curious to see what your take on this is that, a lot of times when we see these outlaw builds, these kind of singer wannabe cars, when they do well, it's usually RSR builds. It's almost always wide cars. So Flying Hawaiian, they usually go wider. So the fact that this one's not a wide car, I think is what's going to hold it back. But honestly, I would rather have this car than the wider one. I don't know about you. What do you think of that, Deeb?
Well, this is going to be a lighter car. This is going to be a fantastic driving car. John often says, Nicole, that especially with these Porsche builds or restorations or certainly resto mods, John always says the motor is the driving force and the value, not as a pun, but just if the motor is expensive, then the car is going to bring the money. And this car has a motor. Now, it's interesting. A lot of people choose to start with a 3.6 liter block out of a 964 or 993. This guy chose a 3.2, probably because of the economy, but then built it with the best possible pieces, going short stroke with JE pistons and individual throttle bodies. And JP, you might have noticed it's got a gorgeous raw fiberglass fan shroud and that that big early RSR induction system to feed air filtered to those individual throttle bodies. This motor is everything. And JP, I've never seen you have so much fun with the audio on one of the listings as you have with this one. So yeah, it is a narrow body that might narrow its appeal, but I think if the real smart buyers are understanding what drives the car literally, and that's the motor, and this car has a very special motor. So John, this car has a chance to embarrass all the three of us and get up into the 200s like some of the herd think it will. So we'll see. This will be interesting.
Well, we like the guys over there at Avant-Garde, so we wish them luck and hope to be wrong. I really don't want to be right on this one. All right, what do you guys think this 1977 backdate 911S Coupe with all the cool backdated gizmos? Do you think this car is going to break the 200? Do you think it's going to meet reserve? Nicole doesn't think it's going to even do that. Do you think we're all wrong and this car is going to hit a record? Let us know in the comments below. And also, again, we're kind of staying with that same theme. Who is the person that's buying this car if someone does wind up getting it? Garage Kept seems to think that it's someone that can't afford a singer, and that's certainly,
absolutely.
But you want the singer experience. I think this is probably pretty darn close. That sure sounds good. I sure would love to take a crack at driving this car. Probably not going to take a crack at owning it because, well, there it is. Let us know what you guys think. Let's move on to the next car. What do we got? We got a bunch of cars, Michael Deeb.
All right, JP. So we have, I think you picked this car, 1977 Porsche 911S.
Echo.
Yeah, exactly. This is a coupe that was essentially like paint to sample. I think they would call it Special Wishes back in 77, done in out of range dark oak green. And the car looks stunning with the sort of cork or, I don't know, cognac or biscuit interior, whatever you want to call that. Our car is on PCAR Market, JP, and it is listed out of Miramar, Florida. 93,000 miles on the odometer, but its true mileage unknown. Car looks to be in decent condition on the outside. JP, it's worth noting as I sort of peruse the images on this listing, the car has the small, stay there, JP, it has the small European bumperettes, but 77s in the United States didn't come with those. John, they took the American bumperettes off and didn't fill the holes. As they put the smaller bumperettes on, they don't require as many holes to affix. So you see those holes in the rear bumper. It looks very unfinished. John, if you could pause when you get to a shot of the interior, something coming in from the door or the window to look at the dashboard. The fit and finish on this car, JP, the way the glove box and the dashboard come over the gauge cluster, it looks really bad. It looks like this car has spent a lot of time in Florida, and that heat and moisture has taken its toll on this interior. Despite being a car that looks good from across the parking lot, I think this car is destined to fail badly. I don't think this is a good quality car. I'd actually chalk this up to being a project car. Despite the paint looking good in the pictures, it is only skin deep, and this car needs a lot of help. So, JP, I like the car. I like the colorway, but if the cosmetics are in that bad a shape, then what's under the skin? Also, there's a tray for the air conditioning compressor in the trunk, but there's no AC compressor. Yeah, look at that, JP. Thank you for zooming in on that stuff. There's no AC compressor in the car. So somebody didn't want to repair the AC. So instead of cutting the belt, they just yanked the compressor out of the car. This car would be worth a whole lot more money if the AC was present. So despite having an out-of-range color and a sunroof and arguably being an AC car, I don't think this car is going to meet the mark, and I'm going to be very bearish on this one when we get to the numbers. So, John, I think you picked this car. I sent it back to you. Now that we take a closer look, this one, she's a little rough, baby.
Yeah, this is definitely the opposite of what we were just talking about with the 77 from Avant-Garde in almost every way, not just the way the car is done, but the way the car is presented, right? I mean, something that I wanted to bring, what struck me on the ad for this car wasn't initially all the issues with the interior and that kind of stuff. It wasn't the fact that we were also talking about the perfect 77 earlier. In fact, when I initially chose this car for this particular episode, I didn't even know that other car was on the list. The reason why I chose it was because we give PCAR Market a hard time a lot of times for, I think, good reason. And here we go. This was the listing a few days ago, like 4 days ago, right? Here are the videos for the car, right? These two videos are not. You notice anything about these listings? About I don't know if this will actually, if I can blow this up. I don't think there's a way to blow it up. What's that?
Yeah. I'm looking at it on my phone, so it's hard for me to tell.
Okay.
So
For those of you who are on a real screen, yeah, these are videos of a Targa. That's not even the right damn car.
Oh my God, dude.
And that means it's time in the episode for... we gotta go to it. Here it is.
Oh my God. It's a
PCAR Market sucks.
A blue Targa. JP, I wonder if they blacklisted themselves. Don't worry. This platform will never be able to list cars on this platform again.
It's like, come on, you guys, get something right, anything right. So, okay, that's just the beginning of everything that's wrong with this particular car. And Deeb, you're noticing all of those issues with the interior. What makes it particularly bad is that you add to the fact that this car was recently restored, right? I mean, they just repainted this car. So they went through the trouble of painting it the original color. Apparently this car used to be red, right? And it had a roached out interior. So they go through all the trouble of stripping the paint and prepping it for this paint to sample thing. And they put the same crappy interior that was in it before. Why didn't they upgrade the interior too? The interior is just, oh my gosh. Nicole, can you believe these people? What do you think is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I don't know, somebody will buy it. I don't think it's horrible. I wish that it didn't have a sunroof. I'd rather see, I don't know. I think it's a nice. Listen, if you want to get into the game, you can't get a perfect car. If you only have limited budget, here you go.
But would you have if you're sitting there going, okay, I've got this car, I'm going to start a process, I'm going to restore it, I'm going to repaint it, again, it'd be one thing if this car was already this green color, right? It started out as green.
I think that their problem is that they fluffed it up in the listing by saying it was restored. They shouldn't have used the word store. Should have said it was painted, because there really isn't. And like you pointed out, Deeb, on the bumperettes, those do look a little tacky with the holes still there. You can tell that it was an American spec car, would have had bigger bumperettes, obviously. I don't know. I'm not gonna. It's not bad. It's still. Hey, listen, it's still air cooled. Okay, it's still cooler than a lot of things out there. I like it.
There's definitely value in this car, right? Okay, fine. It's still a car for someone. The reason why we're talking about this car isn't really the merits of the car in and of itself. It's the listing, and it's the way the seller.
You guys just want to poop on PCAR.
Oh, and the dealer that did this, because it wasn't PCAR Market that decided to do this restoration. This isn't PCAR Market's fault. It's PCAR Market's fault that they didn't catch the errors in the listing, that they showed the wrong things. This is, as much as we like to, or as much as I like to ish all over PCAR Market, this is not PCAR Market's fault. This is a dealer. It's not even an individual. I think Anthony may have said it, or somebody said in the comments, they just ran out of money. Okay, that would make sense too. But it's a dealer. And if you go on their YouTube channel, you can see a bunch of Porsches. This is what they do. They're supposedly professionals, and they go through all the paint actually looks pretty darn nice. Why not go that last mile and finish the race and get this car sold and make it something that's kind of awesome? It's not that far away. I don't know. All right, maybe I'm being too hard on him. Deeb, what do we think this thing's going to bring?
All right, so JP, I'm super confused by the picture of it being red, because it says that it was oak green. So there is a Porsche production specification sheet that says that the car was born in oak green metallic, but then obviously somebody painted it red, and then they stripped it down and put it back to oak green. Now, PCAR Market is claiming that it's paint to sample, but oak green is a standard 77 color, so it's not paint to sample. It's just so bad. The lies in the marketing, John, are head scratching. Like, why do that? It's oh my God.
And they painted it like Michael S is going. Why wouldn't they fill in those holes when they were painting it?
It's
how hard would
unbelievable.
that have been?
It's so bad. And then several people, JP, because as I'm starting to search the comments, 3 different people mentioned, hey, you guys have videos for the wrong car. I mean, that's bad. Like, all right. So if I'm the guy that's selling the car with PCAR Market and they upload the wrong videos, I don't want to pay. Like, I don't want to pay the fee. This doesn't make any sense to me. Like, they don't do right by their customers a lot.
We do need to say that it is possible that the seller gave them the wrong links. It may not have been PCAR Market's fault, but
fair enough. Somebody should edit.
Someone's job is to write that listing. I mean, okay, so that's one thing that a lot. Okay, this is probably the most common question I get. Nicole, I'm curious on what your take is. But people ask me all the time, I want to sell my car on BaT or one of these auction sites, but I don't know how to write the ad. It's I don't know what to do. And it's like, well, yeah, you don't write the ad at all. You just fill out the fields and they write it. That's the whole point, is they have someone who's supposedly the quality control. You get a rep basically whose job it is to give you an optimized listing. So it's their job to say, make sure you take good photos. It's their job to curate those photos. It's their job to decide which photos go in what order. And you'd think that someone in that, if you're getting paid to do that, you'd think you'd be like, okay, here's 80 pictures of this green 911. Okay, here's the exterior pictures, interior pictures. Okay, here's the videos. Yeah, those are a blue car, not the green one, but it's a different roof. Whatever. How do they not notice that was a target? It's beyond me. They're just phoning it in over there. But all that said, this car could make some decent money if they just restored it better or did a little bit better job with the interior and then listed it better. But let's get to the numbers because I'm missing too much on this thing. What do we think it's going to bring?
All right, JP, this car should be worth $75,000 if it's a freshly painted and, arguably refurbished 911S from 1977, born in oak green metallic, because even if it's a regular range car, it's still rare to see one today. It's a beautiful colorway, but this car needs a lot of help, and the listing is a mess. It's a soup sandwich. I mean, JP, look at that photo right there. The Carrera emblem is too far up the trunk lid. Like, it's just, how do you keep failing? Like, what are you doing? So anyways, John, I really wanted this car to do well. I don't think it is. And the comments and the challenges that the platform and the seller are facing right now, I don't think this car is going very much further. So what we're looking at right now is the car is at $37,500 on 6 bids, and it closes 2 days from now. I don't think it's going much further from 37. I think it might get 1 or 2 more bids and make it up to $44,000 where it'll fail to sell. And I think this car winds up in the chum bucket for, somewhere between $65,000 and $85,000. And I'm sorry, it's not worth it. Maybe 50 grand, and then you've got to spend, JP, you could spend $25,000, $30,000 on this car to get it going again. I mean, fixing the AC and putting it back together, fixing all the dash and the interior and a steering wheel, taking the 16s off and putting 15s. If you're going to try to restore this car, you could easily throw 30 to 50 grand at it, and then you'd be buried. You'd miss out on, you'd be over the retail value on the car. So this car doesn't make sense. You have to buy it as a driver, and as a driver, 44 grand. But I don't think they're going to take 44 grand. If my number hits, it is for sure failed to sell at 44, but 44 it is to you, John. And then after Nicole gives us the bid, JP, I put another URL next to this listing. I want you to just pull that car up after we get Nicole's bid, okay?
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, look, another thing that we forgot to mention here too, like this is a 77, so this is a mid-year car. It should be narrow. So it's got the fender flares on there, and I don't think there's any mention whether or not they're fiberglass or steel. Clearly it was done when the car was red, because when we show the red version of the car still has the flares. And that means that this engine is just a 2.7, which is much maligned. We didn't even get to the powertrain. I don't have a problem with the 2.7. I actually like the 2.7. I think it's a fun engine. But looking at this car, it looks like an SC. So when you automatically just kind of want to think that this car is worth $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 because your brain is going SC. But wait. This is a mid-year car that doesn't look like a mid-year car. It's still just a 2.7, and it has a bad interior. And this thing's DOA. I'm going to go 42,911 and send it off to Nicole.
I'm totally with you on a lot of what you just said. I think that if you're in the market to buy one because you just want to drive it and you're not looking for a perfect specimen, this will still sell to somebody who's thinking that, right? Mm-hmm. I agree that if it was perfect, in better condition and more thought put into the actual restoration of it, it would fetch quite a bit more. But I'm also vibing in the 42 range. It's funny. I'm not trying to like steal your number, but that was actually in my head going into this.
So just change it by $100 somehow.
42,911.
That was my bid.
42,911. Very
42,911.
That was mine. That was my bid. So you got to
You
take.
said that?
That's what I said. It was
Shoot.
42,911.
Shoot, I didn't even hear that.
So
she can have 42.
I'll take 42 solid. But
got it.
I have no idea if it will. I don't think that they're going to put a reserve higher than that. Do you really think so?
Yeah, that's once
absolutely.
again that's the
sure.
if it were BAT or Cars and Bids, no, but PCAR Market does not care what you want your reserve to be, because what they want to do is they just want the car listed. They want bidders to come on there and they want people to underbid, and then when the car fails to sell, they want to put the car in the chum bucket, a higher number, and then they want to get their salespeople on the phone calling the underbidders and start hammering them. Hey, we got Joe over in Salt Lake City. He said he'll give us 52 for it.
Right.
And then on the other, he's already got the other guy. Yeah, we got Gary over in Utah. He said he'll give us 53. And they just want to pit people. They play all the
Why
old
are all the
school-
buyers in Utah?
I don't know.
Salt Lake.
Did I say Salt
you
Lake?
said
Yeah,
Salt
Utah
Lake,
twice. Do I look smart? I don't
You
know,
just
because
wanna get
I
out
couldn't think of two states that were Salt Lake City and Utah are two different places, right?
Oh my God,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, that's the takeaway. Yeah.
JP, pull up that listing real quick. That other link that we put up there.
Stand by.
It's this is also by 911R, also on Bring a Trailer out of their Arizona location, and it is also, wait for it, a 1977 911S. While 911's other car out of Portland was a backdate, this car that they listed in Arizona is just a faithful narrow body 911S. This is what the green car is supposed to look like, but doesn't. And this car looks the business, JP. Also brought to our attention by John and Yuri in our little text chain. They thought it was really cool how Avant-Garde had the two 911S's. One was a backdate shot in studio, and the other one is a standard car shot out in nature. They thought the two listings were really, really cool and running at the same time. And it's ironic JP picked this car on PCAR Market. So we have yet another 911S, but there's the regular bumpers. There's the emblem and all the other stuff the way it's supposed to be on a regular car. This is, by all accounts, this looks like a really nice car. We're not reviewing it for numbers, but just for context, shout out, this is what good marketing is supposed to look like. Well done. 911R sets the bar very high. Matt Crandall and his
they
team
are not paying us for the record.
Yeah, they do a great job. And John and Yuri wanted to just shout it out to juxtapose these cars, and they didn't know that we had the green car teed up. So this car becomes more relevant to the green car than it does to the other backdate. All right, JP, that's enough 911S's for one show. What do you think?
All right, we do have one more car. Well, actually, before we get to that, what do you guys think this 77-ish show on PCAR Market will bring? Do you think that they have a reasonably low reserve, and like Nicole says, is a great starter 911 for someone if they want to get into the air-cooled thing? Or do you think the person probably has a ridiculously high reserve and the car won't sell and it's going to wind up in the chum bucket? Let us know in the comments below, and also let us know if you would be okay with buying this car and go, hey, look, it's got a brand new paint job, all I got to do is fix the interior. Is that worth it from a project point of view? We want to hear from you. And we've got one more car. So what's the last car on the list, Michael Deeb?
All right, so last show, JP, we had Zach Miller, formerly of Cars and Bids, as our third nerd guest host, joining us from his home, I believe, in Chicago. Zach was mentioning how RM Sotheby's has a new online auction platform, and I have not picked a car from there yet because a lot of what they sell are young, exotic, and high-end sports cars. While we occasionally cover those, not that we don't cover those, we tend to do more older, down-to-earth stuff. But these guys are basically covering or offering for sale what the American jackass will buy when his company goes public, or he does, the crypto bros go and sell a bunch of blockchain and make a fortune. This is what they're shopping for. So Zach Miller selected for us, JP, a 2023 Porsche 911 GTS Cabriolet called the America Roadster on RM Sotheby's new Sotheby's Motorsports auction platform. And again, JP, it's all exotic cars. This is sort of the stuff that Rami would shop for. Our car is listed for sale out of, let's see, as I'm learning to find my way, I'll have to figure that out because it's not apparent where the Vancouver, Washington. The car is showing just 225 miles. And JP, if I read it correctly, they made just 115 of these last year. 115 across USA and Canada. So that's a pretty small number indeed. Basically, it's a GTS cab, rear-wheel drive. So it's 473 horsepower out of the twin-turbo 3-liter flat six. Rear-wheel drive with a 7-speed manual. And most of these cars, I think all of them are painted this. And forgive me, JP, this car is horrible looking to me. Whatever blue that is, I don't even know what blue it is, but the white wheels and the white stickers miss me with this. If you gave me this car, JP, I would drive it home, take photos of it, and list it for sale. I would not keep this car. I think it's atrocious. The America Roadster from the 964 and the 356 ranges were very cool cars. And whoever was the marketing guy that popped with this idea and the team that approved it should all be fired from Porsche. This is embarrassing. This car has no appeal to me. It has all of the appeal of like a speedboat that you'd see on Lake Mead. So I just don't understand it. I really think they missed it. There's so many cool heritage things they could have done with this name. And this red, white, and blue Captain America convertible is just a joke. And this guy's going to flip it and make a fortune because they only built 115 of them, and he has one with less than 1,000 miles on it. I don't think he should be rewarded, but he will be. And so here we go. This car is on the right platform, John. Where are you at?
Whew. Look, how many times do you hear me rail about how little things can be changed so easily? This car, the blue, is terrible with the white stripe and the white wheels, but if you just put regular wheels on it and got rid of the white stripe, it would look great. It's a GTS. It's manual. This car is probably fantastic to drive. 3 pedals on a GTS is the way to go, and that's pretty darn hard to find these days. But I'm with you. I don't know what they, this is some German's idea of what Americans like, and boy, did they get it wrong, except that they didn't. They didn't get it wrong at all. They got it they knocked this out of the park. This has PCA written all over it. This should have had a big PCA logo. They should have made this the PCA America car, because look, how many times have we talked about it on the show? Porsche buyers are freaking morons. There is a section of them that will just it's special edition, so I'm gonna pay more. This is just a GTS manual, which just say there's no such thing as just a GTS manual, but unfortunately, this car is going to go for a premium, so buying it and removing the wheels and removing the sticker would lower the value, and that's just bonkers, right? So just start with a regular GTS that's configured this way, and Porsche can keep the extra money for their stupid stuff that they put on it. Oh, God, what a fail. Nicole,
I love how
turn.
Brutally honest you guys are, because dude.
And we love Porsches. That's the funny thing. We're Porsche guys.
So with you on how hideous this car is. And, I looked up the MSRP. Obviously, there's going to be dealers that are going to tack on premiums because you can only get, so many of these when they came out. So the MSRP was just under 200,000 plus whatever, right? So maybe somebody paid $250 originally for this. Obviously, the reserve is already met, and they've already got $199,000. We're not going to talk about prices yet, but you know what? Let's just poop on this car for a minute. It is ugly. I'm sorry. Yep. I'm totally with you on the stripes and the America. It's flashy pants, and I don't like it at all. And so I don't know who's buying this car. But you know what? The photos are nice. The platform is clean, and it's nice to see Sotheby's with a motorsport auction site. Yeah. I love this. But the photos look great. The car, just in general, if I won it seriously in the lottery app, just like you, I could never drive this.
Yeah,
it even looks worse with the top up. Do you see the pictures with the top up? It's horrible.
This is just not a good looking car. All right. Again, it's not far away from looking good, but it's just you can't You can't un-F this car without lowering the value, and that's just stupid.
Correct.
There it is. This right here is what does it. It's the numbers on
Yep.
the door sill. Someone will
Yep.
pay extra money for that because Porsche buyers are stupid. All right, let's get to... I mean, talk about the question at the top of the hour. You know, who is still buying stuff like this? And you know, does the frunk come with the pleated shorts and the white socks? I mean, do you just get that automatically with this thing and all the bad PCA polo shirts? What's this dumb car going to bring? Will it meet reserve? What do you think? What's going to happen?
JP? So JP, the good thing to know is this car will never drive. Like, somebody's going to buy it and put it away in a collection thinking I've got one of 115 in my garage. And some amateur collector is going to pay a premium for this car thinking that he's sequestered an absolute diamond that nobody else can get. And I think he's going to be in for a rude awakening. John, this car, as Nicole mentioned earlier, stickered for $198,000. It is entirely possible that the guy who bought this car paid a $50,000 addendum. It is also entirely possible that it was a VIP of a Porsche dealership and they gave it to him in sticker. We don't know what he paid for the car, but it is currently sitting at $199,000. And John, total bids, 40 bids. So the car is getting action at $199,000. But here's where I'm going to break my own heart. I actually think this car is going to hammer for $285,000. I don't think it'll break 300, but I think it'll easily go past 250. And I think this guy is going to make money on it and sell it on what do you call it? What do they call this platform? Sotheby's Motorsport. So I think they're going to do well. I think it's going to sell. And it's just all the reasons we said. For everything we hate about it, there's some faction of Porsche collectors in the world that think that makes it great, and somebody will pay a premium. And I don't think they'll be able to flip the car in a couple of years from now for more money than they paid for it. I don't think this car is going to continue to go up. Like the Rennsport reunion and the PCA Club Blue cars, I think there'll be a frenzy while they're young, and then a couple of years down the road when 993s come out or whatever the next iteration of the 911 comes out, you know what I'm saying, that these will be forgotten. And I don't think he'll get his 300 or 285 out of it. So that's my number, John, and my long-winded answer, 285 to you. And I think it sells. Are you as hopeful as I am? Not as hopeful, but what do you think? What's your
I
feeling?
mean, I'm with you. There's a boomer sitting around that's ready to stroke a check for this thing. The question is, will he know how to use the internet? I think if this car were at a live auction, it gets your number because that same guy can have a drink and some pretty lady will be standing next to him, egging him on. Yeah. And I'm going to say 269.92 and pass it off to Nicole.
And does it sell at your number, John? Sorry, Nicole. Sorry to interrupt you. Cut you off.
I'm going to say yes. I think
at 260, 261 it sells. Yeah, and I think that's fair because in Nicole's example, which was really spot on at 250, he's getting his money back out of it essentially at 260. So I think so. So sorry, Nicole, to chop you down there. Where are you at, Nicole?
Well, the reserve has been met already at 199. Do you see that on there, guys?
Oh, it actually says. Okay, most of the platforms don't say. We're new to this platform.
And 40 bids is a lot of activity for it. What you're saying? This is a rather new platform. That's a lot of bids.
Yeah.
So somebody's paying attention. It must have people that are interested in filling a collection. Like you said, it's not going to get any miles on it because how embarrassing. I wouldn't want to drive it. But I think somebody's going to pay for it because they want it just for their collection. And I do think that it's going to fetch probably about 272.
272.
All right, splitting the difference. There you go. What a diplomat. 272.
Smirt. All right. Well, there you go. What do you guys think this Captain America 911 GTS will bring on this new platform? Is this the right platform to sell a dopey car like this? We asked at the top of the show, who's still buying? Well, I'd sure like to see a picture of the guy that actually strokes the check here for this thing. But I do agree with you guys that this car will probably never get driven. Whoever buys this is probably going to take it to the next Rennsport or Works reunion or something like that, and we'll all snicker and laugh. And when he's driving by, we're like, there's an idiot that spent almost $300,000 on a GTS that he could have got for 180. Oh well, there he goes.
225 miles. He'll spend 300 grand on it, and when he goes to sell it, it won't even have 300 miles on it. That's what's going to be sad. He won't even drive it. The guy who buys this car, like you said, JP, is going to park it in the garage and then park it on a lawn and try to get some accolades for it, and then try to sell it for more money. It's weird.
I kind of feel like sometimes we see cars like we were talking about the backdate at the 77 backdate, right? Someone in the
Oslo
comments said they'd rather have that car than this car, and I think everyone on this panel would agree with that, right? Even though it's probably not worth as much, and even if it were worth half as much, all of us would way rather have and drive that backdate. The question is, will anyone drive the backdate either? And it would be a damn shame if that backdate gets bought and that winds up sitting in a garage. I don't think anybody cares if this car goes and sits in a garage because no one's going to look twice. The only reason anyone would notice this car at a Cars and Coffee is just that, like, why did they do the white like, if you didn't know that, because who knows like, I didn't even know this car existed, and I'm a Porsche person.
Red circle
around the wheel. It's like, who does it, right? But Porsche nailed it. They know that there's so many stupid Americans that will buy that stuff, but you see a car like that, it's basically invisible.
Maybe they're doing this to us. We'll put America all over the car.
They are, for sure. You should put the Captain America shield stickers on it.
Yeah.
They're still pissed that we used the wrong article for in Der Fascination. So we will show those stupid Americans. Yeah, no, that's an Russian. Too many 80s movies. All right, guys, that is it. That is all of our predictions for the night. Nicole Johnson, thank you so much for hanging out with us. You gonna come back, or you gonna slum it with us again?
Of course, you guys are my local bros here, so it's
right
totally,
on,
except for you, Deeb. Dude, you never get my cookies unless you show up. You have to show up to get cookies.
Yeah, Jesus. I hope that's not a euphemism. All right, so JP, is it true that Nicole is going to be at AutoFest signing autographs? Like, she's going to sign her teeth.
We're going to get her a booth.
She'll sign her own chest, take the shirt off, and give it to you, and then put a new shirt on, sign her own chest.
Yeah.
Is that what's going to happen?
There's nobody's going to ask for my autograph. But I was there last year. Chop told me about it, so my husband and I went to it. It was great.
Very cool.
I'm
Very
sure
cool.
we'll
Fun,
back.
right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the coolest? Like, it's the most irreverent Concours d'Elegance there ever was.
Right.
And it's so Vegas. It's so perfectly Vegas. JP has been talking all year since last September that this year would be the outsiders coming in. And I can tell you, being here in Northern California, I have a lot of friends that are planning to migrate to Las Vegas. And a lot of the guys in the herd are going to come in from New Orleans and from Idaho. We'll see if we can get Ross Churchhouse to fly in from New Zealand and show up for Vegas Auto Fest. But Nicole, it should be cool if you should display one of your cars and your brand and the whole thing.
I could bring both. One is just like kind of a bastard, actually. My Boxster is just straight piped and loud. And
you still have a monster truck?
No, I never had one. I was just a fly-in driver who got paid. That's actually what you want to be as a race car driver.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can call some of your monster truck friends and have them come out, and we'll put some monster trucks in the sand traps and stuff. That'll be a good time. All right,
we'll buy
guys.
some Corvettes for you to crush.
For those of you who are new to the show, thank you so much for joining us tonight and being a part of the Nerd Herd. It's great to see your comments. Lots of new faces in the Nerd Nation. And for our regulars and OG Nerd Herds, thanks for being nice to everyone. Everyone plays so nice in the comment group, man. That's really fun to see. Sometimes I wish I could just watch the show and hang out in the comment section, hang out with you guys. But we love doing the show for you, and we'll be back on, what day is today? Today's Wednesday, so we'll be back on Sunday. Michael Deeb may or may not be here for that one, so I'm going to have a guest host with us for that, and so stay tuned to find out who that's going to be. I know everyone's going to be like, make it Nicole. But, and then...
If I had all of the knowledge in his head, I would totally do it.
But then they're going to say, and also, they won't want me around either, so...
That won't take long.
Yeah, very easy. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out. We will see you on the next episode. Oh, wait, real quick. If you want to check out Nicole's YouTube channel, it's Nicole Johnson Detour. So make sure you go over there and hit subscribe, like, and hit the notification button. If you want to sell your car on Haggerty Marketplace, my partner Michael Deeb can help you out with that. Check out our friends at God and Classic. And, of course, get your watch serviced fine Swiss repair at Our Smiths. We will see you guys Sunday. Bye, everybody. Where's the end of the show?
Nerd!